the friar, who was very simple, very humble, not very capable, and in his talents and abilities, he wasn't able to do much, and he didn't have much intelligence either. And yet God gave him infused knowledge to a point where even scholars and theologians would ask for his opinion on things and his counsel on certain matters, theological. And yet he was a humble soul, and he was not able to practice a trade. He was sent out to learn a trade and wasn't able to, and was and then as a young man chose to enter the Capuchins, who perhaps didn't have patience with him or what, but they let him go, and he went home considered useless and a disgrace to the family even. His mom was very tough on him and difficult. He said that he had spent his novitiate at home with his mother because she was so strict with him. Yet he learned many things. Learned humility through his lack of abilities, and God strengthened him in piety. But above all, although these are the first things we think about him, as a simple soul and unable to do much, but the real power and real virtue to his character was his union with God, which was so powerful and so exemplary and so unique, because God worked special graces in him, such charismatic graces, we could say, that he was caught up in ecstasy for a large part of his life, and the things of nature would always lift up his mind and heart to God, and even his body. And he was known to be raised up in ecstasy for long periods of time and throughout his life, especially during Holy Mass, when he would look at holy objects and whatnot. He would be raised up in the air very often. And when we look at that, we don't get astounded by the miracle of it, but we get astounded especially by his union with God, that kept his mind absorbed in God throughout his life, absorbed in God and detached from the world, lifted up from things of this earth, with the image that he used to give of birds who were always up in the air, and they only fly down to earth for the duties that they have to perform for food or things they need, and then they fly back up into the air. And it's a symbol of how we should live our life as often as possible in union with God, with our mind and heart on God, lifted up from the things of this earth, detached, weaning ourselves away more and more from the things of the world, the attractions, allurements, and temptations, and also our will and our opinions and our ways of doing things. We need to be detached from all these things and attached to the will of God, as we know it, as we discern it. And the humility of Saint Joseph is so powerful, is so strong and impressed upon us, that God gives us grace. God gives us grace to the humble, to the childlike of heart. So we ask Saint Joseph to pray for us and to obtain for us these graces of simplicity, humility, detachment from the things of this world, and attachment to the will of God and spiritual things, holy things. May they lift our hearts and minds to God throughout our life.